الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, today we are going to be studying some grammar. We are going to be studying kana wa akhawatuha, which is kana and her sisters. Okay, these are verbs, and there are two things that you need to know about these verbs. That they are naqisa, yani al-af'alu naqisa, al-af'alu naqisa, which is the deficient verbs. They are deficient. Why? Because لا تحتاج فاعلا. They do not need a fa'il. They do not need a doer. And just an extra thing that makes them deficient is they do not indicate an action in and of themselves. They do not indicate an action. And al-af'alu an-nasikha. And they are verbs which abrogate, they change the sentence. And inshallah we will go into more detail about this as we go through our examples. Moving on to the verbs themselves. Kana is the first one. Now kana is used for al-madi. So it's used for the past tense. So kana is used for the madi. These verbs, they only enter on nounal sentences. They only enter on jumlatun ismiya. They can only enter on sentences which are jumlatun ismiya. So for example, ar-rajulu saminun. So without kana, it would be ar-rajulu saminun. With tanween, it would be dhamma. It would be a dhammatan. So ar-rajulu saminun. So these verbs, they enter onto past tense verbs. Not past tense verbs, they enter onto nounal sentences. What do? They change the mubtada into ismu kana, and they change the khabar into khabaru kana. So they change the mubtada into ismu kana, and they change the khabar into khabaru kana. And this is just the wording, this is just the i'rab. You know, when you're going through the grammar and you say that this is a verb, this is a noun. Similarly, all it does is it changes these names. So it changes the subject, yani the mubtada, into ismu kana, and it changes the khabar, which is the news about the subject, into khabaru kana. So that's what it's called. As for the meaning, kana means was. Kana means was, so it indicates the past. So kana rajulu saminan. So the man was fat. So it changes the meaning. So if kana wasn't there, it would be a rajulu saminun. Saminun and not nan. And it would mean the man is fat. When you add kana, it changes the mubtada into the ismu kana. It changes the khabar into the khabaru kana. And the meaning now is the man was fat. Notice the khabar has become mansoob. The khabar becomes mansoob. As for the mubtada, then it stays marfu'. So when kana or any one of its sisters enter into a sentence, they make the mubtada stays marfu' and the khabar becomes mansoob. So what difference, how does it change the sentences? We said is that these af'al are nasikha, meaning they change the sentence. What do they change? They change the mubtada into, the naming of the mubtada changes into ismu kana. The khabar becomes khabaru kana. The mubtada stays marfu' and the khabar becomes mansoob. So kana ar-rajulu saminan is the man was fat. So kana means, it indicates the past tense. Asbaha indicates something which happens in the morning. Asbaha indicates something which happens in the morning. أصبح الطالب نشيطا. So the student woke up, or the student was energetic in the morning. The student was energetic in the morning. أضحى indicates الضحى. الضحى, this is supposed to be a dhamma. الضحى, which is the waqt of duha, which is basically after sunrise up until dhuhr time. That time is known as duha. So adha al-jawu haran, the weather was hot at the time of duha, which is the time after fajr after sunrise, up until dhuhr. Dhalla is to continue throughout the day. To continue throughout the day. Yani an-nahar means day. Dhalla al-waladu maridan. So the boy continued to be ill during the day. As for bata, is opposite, is fil layl. Bata is opposite, is to continue during the night. So bata al-waladu maridan, the child was ill during the night. Sara is for tahawul. Sara is for tahawul. Sara at-talibu nashitan. Sara at-talibu nashitan, which means the boy, the student has become energetic. Amsa is during the evening. Amsa al-jawu baridan. So the weather was cold during the evening. Laysa is for nafi, which is negation. Laysa al-waladu saminan. The boy is not fat. And that's for now. Laysa al-waladu saminan, that's now. Ma zala is for istimrar, which is continuation. Ma zala al-jawu haran. The weather is still hot, or is continuing to be hot. Okay, so kana is for the past. Asbaha is for the morning. Adha is for the time of ad-duha, which is between sunrise, is after sunrise to dhuhr. Dhalla is for continuation throughout the day. Bata is for continuation during the night. Sara is for change. Amsa is for the evening. And laysa is for negation. And mazala is for continuation. These are the classical meanings of these words. So the classical meanings of these words are as I have just described. As for in the common day use today, most of these mean to become. So asbaha is to become, adha is to become, bata is to become, sara is to become, and amsa is to become. All of them mean to become. Generally today they're mostly used to become. As for bata, bata can be used for during the night as well. It's used for during the night. But if you were to look in many of the dictionaries, asbaha, adha, sara, amsa would all be translated as to become. But the classical meanings are as I first mentioned. طيب. And just to go through the i'rab of one of these sentences, كان الرجل سمينا. So كان is a فعل ماض ناقص ناسخ. It's a past tense verb which is ناقص and ناسخ, يعني which is what we described above, that ناقص is that it doesn't need a fa'il, and it doesn't indicate an action, and ناسخ is that it changes the sentence. This becomes اسم كان مرفوع بالضمة. This is خبر كان منصوب بالفتحة. Usually this would be if there was no كان, and if it was a جملة اسمية, if it was الرجل If it was just الرجل سمين, we would say this is the مبتدأ مرفوع بالضمة, this is the خبر مرفوع بالضمة. But as we said that these verbs, they change the sentences. When kana has entered, this becomes ismu kana, and this becomes khabaru kana. And all that is just the name. That is just the name. It doesn't affect the meaning. As for the actual change that it has, the khabar becomes mansub. The khabar, it becomes mansub. So kana ar-rajulu saminan, as opposed to ar-rajulu saminun, it becomes saminan. Why? Because of kana. And if it was any one of the other verbs, so for example, أصبح, it would be اسم أصبح, or خبر أصبح, or اسم ظل, خبر ظل. Inshallah, I hope that's clear. I know this lesson can be quite tricky, and if you haven't understood it, it doesn't make a massive difference. For those of you who have understood it, it is something which is good and khair, inshallah. But if you haven't, it's not the end of the world, and do not worry, inshallah. Do not worry, inshallah, they will become clearer bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The main thing you need to know is that this is marfu' and this is mansub. Why is this mansub? It's mansub because of kana. It's mansub because of kana. Okay, just before we finish, I want to give you a quick way of memorizing these verbs bi'idhnillah, the way our teacher taught us, a little rhyme. He usually gives us little rhymes to make the lessons easier to memorize. كان أصبح أضحى كان أصبح أضحى كان أصبح أضحى كان أصبح أضحى كان أصبح أضحى. So memorize them three together. Then ظل بات صار ظل بات صار ظل بات صار كان أصبح أضحى ظل بات صار كان أصبح أضحى ظل بات صار كان أصبح أضحى ظل بات صار أمسى ليس ما زال 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 كان أصبح أضحى ظل بات صار أمسى ليس ما زال كان أصبح أضحى ظل بات صار أمسى ليس ما زال. And that's all for today, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.